We can just clip it together with the other one.
Hey, we're live, guys.
We are back. We're not doing another intro. We already did the intro for you guys. We are back again. Thank you very much, each and every one of you guys, for sticking with us on the technical difficulties. We will figure out exactly what's going on with that in the future. Try to have some more of that fun, cool looking, broadcast for you guys. But again, thank you. If you are back with us, let us know. Welcome on in. If you are joining us, if not, we will continue the conversation. Obviously, it ended up we were kind of discussing a little bit of what we saw in the final two games, at least as of right now. In yesterday's action, where the D-backs did lose both games against the Angels and Royals, D-backs got clobbered by the Royals 12-1, ended up losing to the Angels 11-5. Josh Naylor looking really solid again. He went 1 for 2, RBI, 2 walks, no strikeouts. His spring stats are even crazier. He's at 471 and a 1254 OPS. I believe he now has. I'm checking his doubles because I believe he has like 7 doubles now in spring. Yeah, 7. He now has 5 doubles in spring training, which is a spring training high, career high for him, which was not what I expected. He has been, if he can hit like this in the regular season, he's going to make Dalton's prediction of being the 40 doubles mark. He's going to hit that easily. But as I was saying, Merrill Kelly did get roughed up a little bit, went 2 2/3, 6 hits, 3 runs, 4 strikeouts, though. His spring ERA is at 4.35, but I'm not worried at all about the mainstay. See what are the rest of the bullpen. Shelby Miller did look pretty solid in this one as well. He went 2 innings, 2 hits, a run, and 4 strikeouts. Obviously, giving up the run, not ideal, but still in 2 innings of work, not terrible out of him. AJ Puck was solid in an inning with a walk and a strikeout. Joe Mantiply again looking really solid, 2 innings, 1 hit, 1 strikeout, and then some other guys in the bullpen that we're probably not going to see in the major league bullpen at all. Issei and Barnes get roughed up a little bit. 4 runs off of Issei, whatever, probably saying his name wrong. And then Barnes gives up 3 runs as well. But overall, some pretty solid looking stuff that we saw from the actual, starters and opening day guys. Obviously, Mancini, as Josh was alluding to earlier, still trying to fight for a spot. He went 2 for 4. His spring training stats, he's now hitting 440 with an 1121 OPS in just about 25 at bats. So he is really making a case, and he is really making Pavin's numbers look a little bit more concerning. Just obviously, Pavin has no options. Mancini does.
Pavin's doing that to himself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but we've harped on Pavin a little bit too much over the time, so we will leave that one as a discussion once we get closer to opening day as our final, opening day roster, the roster set. Once we have Gabe back in here and all that, that'll be the full conversation where we go full deep dive into how the roster is looking going into that opening day series against the Chicago Cubs. But we still have at least 9 more days. Pavin could, turn it around and really convince people, just like how even other guys in the bullpen, they still have a little bit more time. So we'll save some of that discussion so we don't sound like broken records, because we talked about it a little bit. We'll get into that a little bit more. But gentlemen, any final thoughts? I know, or not final thoughts on the stream in general, but any thoughts, anything else that stood out from you, whether even Josh mentioned the Mancini walk-off against the White Sox, the D-backs win against the Padres, with the, I'm going to say it, the terrible Padres broadcast. That was really tough to listen to. That was, I don't know who the guys were. It seems like they're really nice people, but that was god awful. I would never do that again.
What do you expect out of the radio? That's how every team's they are very pro their team.
It was the deep. I don't know. There are a lot of other radios, even the D-backs, where they yes, they're going to be pro their team, but they're still going to give their props. They're still going to be really knowledgeable about the other team as well. Where that one seemed like full on spring. I know only the Padres. I'm only going to talk about the Padres and the good, and I'm also tired. Yes, we get it. The D-backs missed the playoffs by fucking 1 game. We don't need every goddamn radio broadcast to bring it up. We know. Okay, thank you. But anything else that stood out for you guys in these games?
Year. Be ready. That is going to be everyone's troll. Oh, you guys didn't make it last year, though. So, and the only way that this team's going to get over that is once they clinch an actual playoff spot. That's going to be the only way that joke is going to stop. Because that's all I've heard. It's they're like, did you guys do anything this offseason? Yes. Oh, but you didn't make the playoffs last year. So why does it matter?
If that's, let me guess, it's our lovely resident troll Cruz. That's who you hear from. That doesn't count.
No, No, well, it's just other trolls on the internet. So it's just a trollish behavior. And Jeff, this is I, Mike Farron is one of the best. Like this is nothing against Mike Farron. I'm just saying that especially in spring, a lot of the broadcasts are not very good. They are like the actual play by play is like you may as well just put it on mute because it's just gonna be annoying
And I know
because they're
Brooke
gonna
will
be
kill me throughout the regular season, but I'd rather take them over the Padres broadcast again because their regular
are
broadcast is
you
good. The radio one was not good.
yeah radio. I'll give you that. Nothing against Bert, but the Padres TV guys are way better than ours.
Yeah,
So uh,
they're great content.
Don and yeah, they're very good. Just one last thing I wanted to bring up, as Jeff also did. Shelby Miller has looked really freaking good. I think Shelby Miller makes this team. I think Shelby Miller makes this team. Um, Kendall Graveman's not going to make the opening day roster, so that opens up a spot. And Shelby has pitched really good. Like I was a little worried because of PTSD, but then I remembered, well, he's not a starter anymore. He pitched well for the Dodgers, and it's not that he was terrible for the Tigers. He just wasn't at the same level. Like he's pitched in 5 games, just over 5 innings pitched, a 3.38 ERA, and under 1 WHIP. As a reliever, you give me an under the 1 WHIP and an under 4 ERA, that works for me because he's not going to be a high leverage. He might end up being high leverage, but he's not going to be the top of the list. He's going to be like 4 or 5. So, but he'll definitely be one of the guys that I feel comfortable in low to middle relief.
Yes, even as Jeff saying, he hasn't
Leverage.
allowed to walk. Or he hasn't walked the batter, which is huge out of the bullpen. Because I did see firsthand, even in that D-backs Saturday game against the Reds, where Justin Martinez came in a tied game, and walks were killer. Those were part of the reason why he ended up surrendering 3 on his record in that one and taking the L, and the D-backs lost by 1. So definitely no walking the guy was huge, and Shelby has looked really good. But Josh, kind of same thing to you in those. Obviously, I know we talked about the first split squad doubleheader, but in the last few that were mentioned, obviously the Friday, Saturday, and then or Saturday, Sunday, and then the 2 Monday games. Was there anything in particular that stood out from you outside of maybe like you mentioned earlier, Mancini, or even like Brandon mentioned in Shelby Miller?
Yeah, I was going to mention that I know you talked about Josh Naylor's doubles and how significant that is. I would like to propose that his 2 steals are maybe even more significant than that. That's pretty wild that he managed to get 2 steals in spring training. He's barely even warmed up. Probably hasn't had a lot of practice. Looking at pitchers, their routines and things like that. So I'm honestly impressed by that. Jokingly, but actually kind of seriously too. So maybe we see a 30-20 out of him. 30 home runs, 20 steals. I'm calling it right now. So
Hey,
um,
Goldie used to steal a bunch of bags, so
yeah. And then the other thing, there was 2 more things I wanted to mention. The broadcast thing. I don't know if I'm remembering things wrong or if I'm crazy, but do you guys remember on MLB TV, they used to have an option where you could listen to the sounds of the stadium instead of the broadcast? Like it
I
would
think that
it
was
would
only
be,
for a certain one. I think that was only for certain games.
was it certain games? Because I thought that was fantastic, and I wish they would bring that
I
back, maybe
know
even for
that
spring training too.
Apple TV, when their games, they allow you to choose which audio broadcast you want to hear. It
Mhm.
still has the video, but like it will, like you don't have to sync it up. It does it for you. So like, say when the Dimebacks play, you don't want to listen to these MLB Network guys who know nothing about the team, and you'd rather listen to Chris and Candy. You just like there's a little audio button you press, and it. I know for me, if I'm not listening to our TV guys, I really don't like listening to other national because they they just don't know this team or like especially if they're playing another team like the Dodgers, for example, it's going to be just Dodgers glazing the entire broadcast.
Yeah, well, that's my proposal then. I think that would honestly be an awesome experience, at least if you're at home, is just give me the audio from the mic that they have, kind of strung up on the backstop, so I can listen to the crowd, listen to the crack of the bat, and then maybe put in the PA, audio as well when he announces the batters and stuff like that. And that's all I need. That would be fantastic, so I can hear the sounds of the game. They talk about
Baseball's
um,
in.
yeah, the baseball zen. Like, give me that for real, like in the actual games. I think that'd be dope. And then the one last thing I want to mention, you guys talk about Pavin Smith. I think positively, I think for him, one thing that I know is important for Torrey is locker room presence. And it's been well said that Pavin has been he's got a lot of camaraderie with the team, even though he's not, one of the biggest performers or anything, but he is really close with a lot of the team, and I think that might be a huge factor when it comes to Torrey deciding between Trey and Pavin, even if Pavin isn't performing as well as Trey did during spring training. So we'll have to look out for that. If he picks Pavin, I'm assuming it's because of that, to keep that togetherness that they have, throughout the years. So that's just my prediction on that.
That's a great point, but I think it's one of those where the D-backs are at and all that. To me, I'd rather have them pick, roster and productivity over just vibes. Like, I feel like we have enough vibes in the team. I feel like a lot of teams have been together, especially the guys that have come up through the system. It's still a great point you make that, like, even though it might not be doing it on the field, he could still be doing it off the field. He is the quote unquote vet, maybe not in vet status, but he has had, probably more than just a cup of tea at the MLB level. So I think that it is a great point to think or to keep in mind. But if Trey Mancini can keep hitting the way he's hitting, I would personally rather have Mancini on this roster than Pavin. Plus, I feel like I like the little bit more of the right-handed pop that we would get from Mancini. And it's a great story. But some of the comments I wanted to bring up here that we saw, which again, shout out each and every one of you guys for joining us in the comments. I know Corbin Barrels, you're back in here, as well as I hope Red Sox Nation's in here listening. But as Gabe says, we are so back. We are so back, and we are so close to being back to full regular season action as we again are less than 10 days away. So that's exciting.
9 days.
Riley brings up saying that I think tomorrow's a really big day for this team. Monty's last chance to impress or depress this front office. And we'll have a little bit more on Monty and that battle for the rotation spot in just a minute here. But that is a great point that Riley brings up. Gabe did bring up something, obviously, because we're talking about with Justin Martinez, or at least Shelby Miller and the rest of the bullpen, is he's saying one issue with J Mart to watch is his 130 whip. He had a really low ERA, but that whip is a concern if he can't control his walks. And then also Riley Dunn and Jeff kind of having not like counterpoints and like necessarily arguing, but good points in general, where Riley says that it's sort of a part of his game. It's the nature of being a heavy splitter guy at times. They're either biting or it's an easy take, and that's very fair. Kind of like how sometimes, even back in the day with like Craig Kimball or guys like Aroldis Chapman, where if their stuff in the location wasn't on, at times it could be pretty easy for guys to lay off of it and, not want to be as antsy. And even Jeff says that J Mart did have a 86 or 87% whiff rate his last outing and a 131 stuff plus, which is an 80 grade elite. Like, discussing like the pitcher profile Twitter account is doing what the MLB account does to Ohtani, and it is just on its knees for Justin Martinez. Like, please, daddy, give me more.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I'm like, yes, please.
Yeah, 100%. So it is one of those where definitely leads stuff from J Mart, but Gabe does bring up, at least something to keep in mind with his whip, where maybe it's not enough to be like, oh, he doesn't deserve, or, like to be worried he doesn't deserve the closer spot, but it's something to keep in mind. And then Gabe brings up on Josh's point about Pavin.
Mm-hmm.
Screw it, just put Pavin in the coaching staff, so he's still with the team. You know what? He can be there because then he can transition guys, be like, all right, here's how you hit well in Reno, and here's what you don't do when you get to the MLB. Listen to me, I'm your man. I'm sorry. All jokes aside, I sound like an asshole, always like harping on Pavin. So I'll try to let that dead horse lay down and fully die. But
I will say about Gabe's comment, it's a little misleading. He's only pitched in 5 innings, and he had one bad outing. It was and I think it was the game you went to. That game against the Reds. He only won a third of an inning, gave up 1 hit, and walked 2 guys. If you look at the rest of his outings this spring, he's been top tier, Justin Martinez. So that's the one thing with relievers. especially early on or in spring, like if you look at their ERA or their WHIP, it's going like they have one bad outing, it's going to be inflated and it's going to take so long to fix. Like if you see like a reliever in like May 15th has an ERA of 8, you're like, how is that possible? Because he had one bad outing, and you literally have to go like 2 or 3 months of perfect to even get it down. So I'm not worried about J Mart. I know he's going to be the guy. I personally think that he should be the closer. I think his stuff is the best that we have. He is a strikeout pitcher. That's what your closer needs to be. Like I know Seawald, it worked for a bit, like the whole pitch to contact thing, but we saw what happened when his location was gone. Like he just got lit up. With Jmart, if he struggles with his pitch location, he's throwing like 100 miles an hour, so guys can't square it up.
Yeah, and even like that stuff plus, I know sometimes stuff plus and some of that stuff can be a little bit of an extra, like, oh, like shut up nerd, kind of a stat thing to look at. But I think it's still something to point out where when you have elite stuff like that, you gotta take advantage of it. And again, I'm as my wall depicts up above me, that's kind of hidden, and I'll harp on it every time. I am a day one Jmart truther, so I'm fully okay with him having the closer role and locking us down, because I called it on Twitter a few years ago. I called it in person. I said he is going to be future closer of the 2025 World Series winning Diamondbacks. Absolute cinema if that happens and he gets to lock down the final out in many games, including the World Series. But the only time will tell. Only time will tell, and we have plenty of time and plenty of games as we're not even into the game one of 162 yet, but we are growing ever so closely. But before we can even get into worrying about game 162 and all that, there is a few positional battles still left to go in spring. As the main one I know a lot of people have been talking about with the starting rotation on the who's getting opening day. But the one that we're here to talk about is, in my opinion, the more important one, or the one that a lot of people have more eyes on, as it is a fight for your right to pitch in the fifth spot of the rotation, as it is between Nelson, Fott, and Monty. So some of the stats from these guys, obviously Nelson, he's had 4 games, 3 games started in spring, 11 innings. Wins and losses really don't matter in spring, but he's 1-2. His ERA got a little inflated after that game against the Royals where he got shellacked. His ERA is up to 8.18, 6 strikeouts and a 1.64 WHIP with 16 hits, 2 walks, and a 375 average against, which before that Kansas City game, it was a 172 average against. So obviously super small sample size, but hey, you know what? These super small sample sizes are what makes or breaks you making the opening day or being sent down to Reno. ERA was 2.25 before he got lit up by Casey. So again, really rough because in that Casey outing, 3 innings, 11 hits, 9 runs, 8 of them earned. Brandon Fott, he has looked, on the other hand, really solid. He had one, I guess, quote unquote, blow up game or rough start against the Giants where he got hit hard early. But he now has 4 games with 3 games started in spring. 11 to third innings pitched. Again, win and loss doesn't matter, but he is 2-0. His ERA is sitting at 3.18. He's got 13 Ks, more than double of Ryan Nelson. He has a 1.24 WHIP, around 40 points less. 12 hits, 2 walks, and a 297 average against him. Like I said earlier, that game against the Padres, he looked stellar. The fact that he didn't walk anybody, his sweeper looked absolutely disgusting. He was having Machado, Machado, Cronenworth, Tatis, all those guys absolutely flaying up there. So that was really solid. And then the one guy that still has not yet had another game since his absolute blow up start or blow up outing in spring, Monty still has only pitched 1 game. And even as was mentioned earlier by our man Riley, that Monty's make or break is going to be tomorrow because of spring training and all that. He's had 1 game, only gone 1 inning pitched. He has a 1.35 ERA. Yes, that is correct. 1.35.
That is not 1.35, you guys. That is 130.
Yeah, 135 ERA.
Crazy.
Things you only see when you're facing somebody in Road to the Show and they throw absolute BP and take him out. He's got a 12.0 whip. Again, not a 1.20 or anything like that, a 12.0 whip. Again, it was only the 1 outing. So again, it's super blown out of proportion. But it's still something to look at with the 2 hits, 2 walks, 5 earned runs, 1 home run, hit batter and a 6.67 average. So after hearing all those stats for each one of them, obviously 2 of them have a little bit more innings under their belt than the other one, but still something to keep in mind. My question for you gentlemen, as well as everybody at home listening along with us, always interested to hear your guys' opinions. But so the top 4 spots in the Dbacks rotation are pretty much locked in. We already know this, especially after Eduardo Rodriguez had that really good start the other day against the Reds. We're going to see Burns Gallon or Gallon Burns, whatever the combination is. Merrill, Kelly, and then Eduardo Rodriguez. So that leaves pretty much these 3 names that we mentioned before, vying and fighting for just one spot. So between Ryan Nelson, Brandon Pfaadt, and Jordan Montgomery, who has earned the final rotation spot? Who is going to be the one that lands that rotation spot? And again, there are 9 days. A few days ago, people probably would have said that Ryan Nelson was going to be the one that earned that spot just because how good he was, and Brandon Pfaadt would be the lone man out. But now that we've seen the blow up start, and then for Brandon Pfaadt, the really solid start, it's kind of flipped back and forth. There still is some time for that to happen. Obviously, 9 more days, so it's definitely going to be nail biting for those 2. But who, in your opinion, has earned that final fifth man rotation coming out of opening day? Brandon, I'll
For
start with you.
me, yeah, like I've been going so before spring, I was like, only because of money, it's probably going to be Monty. So it was his to lose. He got injured. He's only made 1 start. He had 1 start in the backfields. So like he's really not doing himself any favors. And I think Fott and Nelson took advantage of that. They have gone out and they have pitched well, both of them. Both of them, and I don't even think Fott's blow up was as bad as Nelson's was. But for me, it's Brandon Pfaadt. He was our most steady, reliable pitcher last year. He has to be on this roster. He has to be on this open. He needs to be. And he hasn't done anything, in my opinion, to lose that number 5 spot. So I think it's Pfaadt. I need it for the memes, really. Because Josh, that freaking father, I freaking love that. You killed it, like always, with your graphics. I think it's Pfaadt. Like, as you read up, like, his numbers are pretty good. Just over 11 innings, just over 3 ERA, almost more than 1 strikeout per inning, which is what you want to see. Very little walks. That whip is in a good spot. The average is a little bit high, just under 300. But again, it's a very small sample size. So I'm not exactly worried too much about it. Monty's start tomorrow is so huge. Like, I don't even know if there's anything that he can do to save his spot. Like, when we brought it up in the Discord, I think it was Jeff or Nugget brought it up. Like, which ones would you rather do? Like, he is only throwing 89, but he's dotting up and he's doing what he needs to do. Or you want him to throw fast, but maybe he gives up a bomb, but he's still pretty good with his command. So, and Nelson's just going to be the odd man out. And I think out of the 2 of them, Pfaadt and Nelson, they can put in the bullpen. And then they can keep him in the bullpen because everyone, like, say we have injury, knock on wood, to our starting pitcher. We don't need to have Nelson come in. We have plenty of guys that are going to be down in Reno. Christian Mena, Gilbert Diaz, like, that's 2 right there. And maybe if he performs well in Reno, maybe by June or July, Yumin Lin could also be an option for a spot start. So I think Monty would literally have to be perfect. Like, we would have to see like 2023 postseason Monty tomorrow for me to really. And they just need to bite the bullet and cut him because you are not going to get anything for him.
Get the Yankees on the phone call and be like, all right, pay for what it is to give us free value beer to a certain like section or whatever for the entire year, and you can have Monty. Like, we'll even buy a little bit of his contract, but just get something for him. Even if it's nothing, even if it's a 6-pack of PBR, at least it's something for Jordan Montgomery because that's pretty much where his trade value is. But Josh, same question to you. I'm kind of on the same side as Brandon. Where it's definitely interesting to see. I think Fott has it, but we'll definitely see. Hopefully even some good news because even if Monty does solid, at least it boosts up his somewhat absolute tanked trade value. But what are your thoughts on who deserves the final rotation spot?
Yeah, honestly, I think I'm in the same boat as you guys. I mean, we're seeing in spring training, this is exactly what we saw with all of these pitchers last year. Nelson and Fott were great. Montgomery was a disaster. And I don't know if it's because I'm a fan of the Suns, but I'm just ready to blow up anything that looks bad. I'm just sick and tired of seeing that stuff. So get it out of here. I think Fott definitely deserves that spot. It's tough with Nelson, with Ryan. I really want him to be a starter. I love watching him pitch as a starter. But I also don't want us making the same mistake as we did with Dre, where we had him as as a relief, and then kind of jumping back and forth, and then we get what happened last year to him. So, I mean, if we're thinking about years ahead, I don't want to like say what we all might think what's happening next year, but we might be losing a pretty decent starting pitcher, so we might need him for next. Oh, two of them, yeah.
Merrill Kelly's gonna be free.
Oh yeah. So we might need him for next year, and maybe we just keep him in as a relief. Have him do his reps, and then when or if some of them are gone, he gets his spot, and then we've got like you guys said, we got plenty of guys in the farm system that are that'll hopefully be ready to move up as well. So it's tough. I'm glad I'm not making that decision, but I think that's the best one that we can make. I I don't really I don't think anything is going to change my mind on Montgomery, even with whatever performance he makes. It's just I think Fott earned it from all of last year, and I don't think that everything should be decided off of just spring training games. I've never really put too much weight on those games anyway, so I think you should pay attention more to what they did for 162 games last year instead of a couple of games in the spring that don't really count. So that's just my opinion on it. I think it should be Fott, Nelson in the relief, and then Montgomery can, I don't know, serve him food in the clubhouse or something. I don't know.
He's already serving up meatballs on the field, so we can maybe serve meatballs off the field. But I do kind of agree with you on that, especially with the Ryan. Like, if we're going to be potentially missing Gallen and Kelly next year, I would rather keep Ryan stretched out. I know it's going to be the off season, so he has time to revamp as a starter. And I know it would suck, but I would rather keep him in Reno as a starter. Especially if we're going to have, obviously Shelby Miller, if he's looking the way he is, Dre Jameson, if he's making the bullpen. If Graven's injury isn't, too grave, man, I'm sorry. You guys are more than welcome to do it. That was terrible.
He is getting ready. He is getting ready with his dad jokes.
The dad joke powers are kicking in slowly but surely over every single day. But if his injury isn't too crazy, then I feel like at least the spot will be ready for him, where I'd rather keep Ryan Nelson down in Reno because, again, God forbid you have any kind of injuries to the starting rotation. Like, obviously, even Mike Hazen has said multiple times, you are always going to have some kind of injury. We've seen it. Merrill Kelly has had cramping issues, where I'd rather have, if we need to, have Nelly come up for a spot start, but then at least if anything, stay stretched out. So the next year he is, still ready as a starting pitcher and, can lock it in there. I'm not saying, because I know Riley and others I mentioned in the Discord as well, he does profile really well as a reliever with his really electric fastball, his cutter, his slider. Like he does have the stuff to be really solid out of the bullpen. But even as Josh alluded to and mentioned earlier, I'd rather have him avoid any kind of Dre Jameson-esque issue of, starter reliever. Yeah, Archie too. Like starter reliever. I'd rather have him just stay as a starter And especially like, yes, we do have guys like Yilbert Diaz, Mena, Yumin Lin, but they still have they're still a little bit more greenhorn than Nelly. Nelly does have a little bit more time, especially even as Josh was saying, if you're going to let the regular season from last year kind of dictate over spring training what they did. Nelson had an even better second half than Brandon Pfaadt did. So they both have some really solid cases and some really solid, like regular season resume to go off of going into this, where I think that he definitely should. Again, it's. I feel like you can't necessarily be wrong in either one of these, but I still think that I'd rather have him still available as a starter. And then even on the point of Monty, as Riley brought up in our chat here, saying that backfield start note, he gave up a hit to Slade Caldwell, and would like to know that Slade Caldwell is 18 and has 0 pro at bats. And Slade Caldwell is really good. Slade's no slump or no slouch, but it is still not the most encouraging thing to see from Monty going into it. And then even as Jeff brought up with Brandon Pfaadt, saying Pfaadt's last outing was good enough against the Padres A lineup to lock it down, set down 12 in a row at one point, and that is very true. He was absolutely on fire, and if he can just have one more solid outing, I feel like that's going to be the decision maker. But we'll wait to see. And then this is the beautiful thing why we have it. Like to get everyone's thoughts and opinions here. Jeff is actually disagreeing with me on this. I'm assuming you're talking about the Ryan Nelson aspect of it. He's saying we can't really play for next year because aside from Gallen and Mert, we're also losing our corner infielders. Like Tori said, take the best pitchers to Chase Field and go for it in 2025. And again, that is a fantastic point. You still got to go for it, but I still think that you are still looking at it in the long run of a team. Like you're looking for more sustained success, not just using this year as the make or break year. Yes, I do agree. Like the roster will look completely different next year. That is very true, no doubt in that at all. But I still think that they want to keep these guys like future, and even like Tori's mentioned before, he wants to keep this guy's future health in mind too. So that, in my opinion, is what they might do to, especially after seeing like firsthand what happened to Dre Jameson. I know every pitcher's different, everyone's body is different, but I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to avoid a repeat of that situation by any means necessary. But again, this is why I'm not a general manager. This is why I'm not a manager. Like Josh said, I'm glad that I don't have to make that decision. I lose sleep over the most little things, like even like my regular work. I could not imagine having to make a decision like that that Tori and Mike have to make. So props to them for whatever decision making they're going to have to do.
Decisions to have to make.
Yeah, very, very good issues. Like this is much better than having to worry about like, years past where it's like, oh, cool, there's some very clear holes. There's not some very clear holes in this, roster in general. They have a lot of depth everywhere in their, like every position, infield, outfield, starters, relievers, even catchers. Like we've seen some good stuff from some of the backup catchers. Herrera's looking pretty solid. So we'll just, kind of have to wait to see. But again, not too much. We're not going to go full deep dive into some of the other positional battles. We'll save that because we are still, again, just over a week away from opening day. So I imagine around this time next week, maybe even Wednesday. I think Gabe's back. What, Wednesday, you said? Or is it
Monday?
Is it Monday?
Monday? Okay.
Monday.
So either Tuesday or Wednesday. I imagine we'll let Gabe kind of get back home and relax. So maybe this time next week, as we're, I believe maybe
Monday,
even the Guardians next. Okay, so this time next week, hopefully either Tuesday or Wednesday, we will be back again to discuss a little bit more about the final roster decisions and all that. So we'll leave that discussion there. But we're gonna kind of change things up here a little bit. We're gonna do something that maybe not maybe something that I don't think we've done a little bit more. We're gonna give you guys a chance and a little bit more of an opportunity to get to know us. Maybe we'll get to know you because these questions that we're going to ask, we're also down to hear your guys' opinions and everything that you guys have to say, because again, we're building a little community over here. I want you guys to know more about us. We want to know more about you guys because that is how we build a community and build this family that we're getting over here at Dbacks Dispatch. And we're going to go, again, not fully, I guess, baseball related, but we're going to probably have some of these answers still keep it baseball related. So the first one is the favorite job that you have ever had. For me personally, I'll go first. I'll say that my favorite was working up at the DeMarco's Pizza Place in Flagstaff in my college years. Started as just a regular dough cook. I got to be a delivery driver for a little while, along with being the cook. And then I managed for about like 9 months before I finished my associate's degree and came back down. That was an absolute blast. I do enjoy a lot what I do now. It is definitely a very close second, getting able to deal with sports memorabilia every single day. But there's just something fun about kind of working in a college town, especially around the back in the day when I was still drinking, which I'm drinking my NA. Shout out Joey and Megan, just had their wedding on Sunday. Congrats, you guys. Back in the days when I was still drinking and all that, having some shift beers afterwards, listening to some tunes on the store radio, making my own like little pizza, Szechuan pizza and all that. There's some good memories. So definitely be either DeMarco's Pizza and then my current job at Pristine as a close 1 and 2. But I'm curious to see what your guys' favorite jobs are. Again, everybody in chat as well as us here. So Brandon, what is your favorite job that you have ever had?
So, I have loved sports like my entire life. Like if there's a sport on, like I'm watching it. Like it's just something that I enjoy doing. So, and I was good with video. I was going to school for video production. I got a job with the University of Houston football team, working for the coaches in the basically coaches film. So I would assist with the filming of practice and then get it edited up for them, and did that for games. Did that for just over a year. Was really really fun. Very time consuming. It was I don't know, 70 to 80 hours a week. So it was very very tiresome, but I got a lot of cool free swag that I still have to this day. I haven't done it in 10 years. And I still have some of the free shoes and shorts and t-shirts. I also didn't get paid very well, but that was fine. I was doing something that I loved, and it was fun to do for a little bit. So
I like that. That's a pretty cool one. Say, I'm definitely not as tech savvy as you and Josh are, but that does sound like a blast getting to stay around some sports, especially some of the when it's not as much like politics and just kind of like people a lot of times like playing for like the love of the game and stuff like that is there's a little bit more of a different feeling to it. So that's pretty sick, honestly. But Josh, turning it on over to you. What is your favorite job that you've ever had?
It's funny. I wanted to mention too. It's funny that you said you worked at a pizza place. It's not my favorite job that I had, but I worked at Barrows as well, so we could probably make some pretty meat pizzas. Maybe some
Hell yeah,
Dbacks
dude.
dispatch dough or something. I don't know. So yeah,
Dope
that'd be funny.
dispatch. Dobacks
Yeah,
dispatch.
Dbacks dispatch. Yeah, but yeah, I think my favorite job was the first one I ever had. I think I was like 16 years old or something, and I worked at I was a lifeguard for Sunsplash, just over there off the 60.
Oh
And
man,
so
that's
nice.
so bad.
I love being outside. I really enjoyed being able to just stay in the sun, even though it's crazy hot and everything. But I'd rather be in the sun than under fluorescent lights. So it was great to just I listened to music all day and got in the water. And there's a surprising amount of people that go to water parks that are very like they know very well that they don't know how to swim or that their kids don't know how to swim. So if you take your kids to water parks, please teach them how to swim safe. That way we don't like lifeguards aren't there just so that they can save your kid because they don't know how to swim. So it was a surprising amount of people, like lots. So but it was fun. It was a great time. So I guess if you think about it in a depressing way, it's like, oh, my peak fun job was my first one and it hasn't made good sense. But I've had some pretty interesting jobs since then. So, but yeah, I think lifeguard, that was a blast.
Yeah, say Red Sox Nation saying that my favorite job is / taste testing quality numerous
Wow.
kinds of coffee. That sounds like a blast, honestly. That
Yeah.
that that would be pretty fun. I'm a coffee not aficionado. I basically have now transitioned. I used to drink all the super sugary kind of coffee from like those like the 911s and all that. To where now I basically just drink straight up black coffee, like that, or just like cold brew with just like I don't put creamer in any of my coffee anymore. Never would have thought, if you tell like 17, 18-year-old me who used to get like one of the most sugary like coffees on the way to work uh, from like Dunkin' Donuts and all that, that I'd be basically just drinking black coffee. I'd be like, no, the fuck I'm not. That sounds disgusting, but it's way better once you kind of get used to it and you actually just enjoy just the actual flavor of the coffee. But that is fun. Again, always we want to hear from you guys on this if you're listening in the live, like Red Sox Nation just did. Let us know in the chat, or if you are, you know, listening to this afterwards on YouTube, let us know in the YouTube comments, or even if just going on the Discord, hop in there, give us your responses. We like to, get to know you guys a little bit more and hear more. But this next one, I guess we'll do this like a little snake draft. We'll, start with Josh on this one. Josh, where are you going to go camping? Where is your favorite camping spot? If you could pick one place whether I know like your kids are probably a little bit young now, but once they get a little bit older, you're going to try to get them into the joys of experiencing nature. Where are you going to take you and your family?
Yeah, so I actually took some time to think about it because I've done a whole lot of camping before, Eagle Scout and all that stuff. So I've gone on lots of outings, gone to the Grand Canyon, gone desert camping, into the snow, stuff like that. But I think that my favorite place I've ever been camping is in Greer, it's called. So if you look it
Yeah,
up,
dude,
it's
Greer's beautiful.
Greer. Yeah, that place is gorgeous. I love camping in the forest with like a body of water nearby, whether it's a lake or a river for fishing. So I'm normally oh yeah, Big Bear. Oh, you're talking about Virginia. There's a Bear Lake, I believe, here in
Nope.
Arizona too that I
She
love
just
going to
corrected
as
it.
well. Oh, California. Oh yeah. I know where that is too. But yeah, no, I really enjoy Greer. It's gorgeous. Lots of rivers, and I remember I went one time. It was right after the huge fire that happened, and I remember how amazing of a time was even going then. Just how gorgeous it is. So, I would definitely go there.
Yeah, I went to Greer a few years ago with my family. Not camping. It's like a little like lodge up there, and
Hmm.
10 highly recommend if you like. It's a little bit of a drive, but if you guys like, whether you're looking for like a date night with the missus or whatnot, or just to hang out with friends, family, highly recommend it. Greer is a beautiful place. You just got to deal with eating nothing but German food for 3 days, but depending on who you ask, that could be a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah,
You have one?
I'll answer that question about Arizona too. I just went with my family. It is absolutely worth it to go at least once. It's weird. I've actually been to a couple of those types of places where it's, you drive through and you see all the animals and things like that. I went to one in Idaho, called Bear World. And then I went to Arizona, and Arizona it was unbelievable. It completely eclipsed the first one I've ever been to. So they've got tons of bears, they've got tons of animals, bison. I think they had albino bison there as well. This is incredible. They have a huge array of animals, and then it's not even just like the drive and then you're done. You also get to go in and they have like a zoo kind of thing as well. So you get to enjoy that. They have amazing food. I thought it was absolutely worth it. And then a fun fact too, there's right next to Arizona, a lot of people don't know about it. There's a museum called the Pooseum, and it has like the Guinness World Record largest dinosaur poop in it. So if you go to Arizona, don't forget to go to the Pooseum. So yeah, fun fact.
That sounds
I
absolutely.
don't even know what to say to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's. I'll have to look that up because honestly sounds like something that me and Kayla would enjoy. So I'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Cruz in the chat. Cruz, crazy job. Favorite job choice that you have there. That's insane. But that sounds like
I can't tell if he's trolling because that feels like a movie plot.
that does. But hey,
No, that's an episode of South Park, is what that is.
the Butters.
Oh wait, no,
Butters.
Oh
Butters
wait, no,
Bottom.
it's in the other guys as well.
Okay.
With Gator, Will Ferrell.
Oh, dude, that's a good movie. Man, I gotta
Yeah.
watch. I'll have to go back to Zia and look for some more physical movies.
So,
Brandon,
yeah.
I don't know if you've you've gone to the same places as Josh, which I'll definitely have to check out Arizona too. For years, I thought that was just another name for Tucson and U of A. Genuinely, like I thought that's what it was.
Yeah, I
Before
didn't think
actually
about
looked
that.
into it, and I was like, oh, it's an actual like thing. Okay, no, that makes sense. But Brandon, what's your favorite place to go camping, and where do you like to go to kind of unwind and be one with nature?
I haven't been camping in 20 years. So anywhere I can, like, I haven't been camping in so long. I don't even know where to go. So when I saw this question, I'm like, this is going to take me about a 30-second answer. So.
Well, we're all going camping together
We'll
then.
have to plan like a trip because I love fishing. I like
Mhm.
my favorite things to do. Like
Yeah, Josh, it's going to be kind of hard with the season starting in a week. So maybe we go during the
All-Star break.
All-Star break.
Yeah, All-Star
Yeah.
break or something. That'd be fun.
Go and experience, get out of the super heat because it'll probably be well into the hundreds at that point. So
Yeah.
we'll have to plan a little something because that'd be fun. But for me, say it's like I said, I love fishing. Haven't done too much like camping and fishing. A lot of my camping, I was kind of like Josh. I did a lot of Boy Scouts and stuff. Like RBRC, that's not necessarily camping. That's like in a cabin, kind of in the woods. Um, the what was it? The Camp Geronimo. That
I did
was
that too. Yeah.
fun, but when I was young, because again, I'll admit it, especially when I was a kid, I was a little scaredy bitch of like the dark, and especially the dark in the forest. And if you guys have ever been to Camp Geronimo, or if you ever remember the Mogollon monster story, in the middle of the
Dude,
story,
flashback.
we used to have one of our this is a slight tangent. I'll wrap up on the tangent really quick. But we used to have one of our scout leaders would like walk into the woods in the middle of the story and would be on a radio, and they'd be radioed right when a certain part of the story gets to, and they're like, and you heard a blood curdling scream, and they would literally be in the goddamn fucking forest, and she did the best blood curdling like being murdered type scream, and when you don't know what's happening, I didn't sleep that night. I was just sitting in my tent. I'm like, one, I only brought a cot with like a really thin sleeping bag, so I definitely did not prepare for the temperature there. So that didn't help. But I'm sitting there shivering, cold as hell. I'm like, this fucking sucks. I never want to do this again. But a place I actually do enjoy camping. Wyoming's got some beautiful spots. Arizona has a few good things. Me and Kayla are planning on going to like a place in Malibu next year. The one Slade's a little bit older, and you can kind of walk around a little bit. But kind of like Brandon, I haven't been. It's not been nearly as long for me. But it has been at least a few years camping, so I'm not too familiar with some of the places, but I'll definitely have to kind of familiarize myself. And you know, it's always nice to unwind from nature, kind of turn off the phone, especially if I'm with the people that I only need to be talking to. I don't have to worry about being in touch with the world, and I can kind of escape the hustle and bustle and the constant you know bullshit that is everyday life. But can't do it too often. We'll have to do it soon. Going to our next one here. You come home from school and you turn on the TV. What show were you watching? Man, this is a good one. This is one of my favorite, especially like there's some old ones. There's like the Hole in the Wall, I believe that used to be on like Nick. Like Nickelodeon used to have a bunch of those like game shows back in the day. Like that one was a random fun one I used to watch. Used to love watching, and I still rewatch it to this day. I've probably seen around 20, 30 times. Avatar: The Last Airbender, whether it's a rerun or not. I'm always going to love me some Avatar. You have Courage the Cowardly Dog, Camp Lazlo. Like there's a whole list I can go on for absolutely hours. Like it's there's I was in the prime era of TV before everything switched to being on streaming, which streaming still has some bangers, but even like I have over on my DVD, like Teen Titans, absolute slapper. Like American Dragon Jake Long, there's a throwback for you guys.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there's so many I can go from. But those I think my number one pick would definitely be uh Avatar Last Airbender. But over the summer, there's one fun summer where I think in like second or third grade, I kid you not, for at least 2 to 3 weeks in a row, every day when I would wake up, I would pop in Rookie of the Year, the one of the kid that
Hmm.
breaks his arm, goes to play pitch for the Cubs. I would not watch that not once, not twice. I'd watch it 4 to 5 times in a day. It would end and I would just restart it. I don't know what it was. I loved it. It's hot ice. I heat up the ice cubes. One of my favorite lines from any movie ever. So it'd either be Avatar: Last Airbender or that movie. But again, I can talk about TV shows all day, so we'll have to do that in Discord. But Brandon, same question to you. You get home from school, you turn on the TV. What are you watching?
Like I said, I was a huge sports fan growing up, and it was PTI and Around the Horn.
Ooh, Around the Horn's a
Like,
good one.
it really sucks that they're going to be ending Around the Horn. And like when I was watching is when they really started doing the whole like sports debate thing, and that's when it was good. It has gotten so bad over the last 5 or 6 years. Like it's difficult, like because they'll just have takes that they like they don't actually believe, but it gets clicks and views. And a lot of these corporate companies, that's all they care about. It's just getting people to watch, getting people to comment. Like that's all that matters. Like I used to follow like a movie trivia show that was like movie trivia mixed with wrestling. Like it was really freaking cool. So I had a YouTube channel where we would discuss it, and it was basically around the horn. We did it on StreamYard. We had all the squares, and one of the squares was the actual score, and we would just give out random pluses and minuses based on what they were saying. Like it took a lot of work, and it was fun. I'm like, I think around the horn is such a great idea. I'm really gonna miss it.
Man, Around the Horn was a throwback. I guess the sports show that I also forgot to mention that in its prime and heyday, absolutely goated. Intentional Talk. Oh man, I would get home right in time, watch that with my dad for a little bit. Rosie and Millar. That was a blast. But Josh, same thing to you. I believe you might have been the one that put it in here too. So I'm curious to see your answer on this one. You get home from school, throw down your backpack, whatever it is. You say, I'll get to my homework in a minute. I got to get to the real important stuff. What are you putting on the TV?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it depended on, well, my parents were divorced, so not to like trauma dump or anything, but it depended on which house I was going to. So at my dad's, we had cable, and so same thing as Brandon. I was watching PTI and I was watching Around the Horn. I mean, I can't describe how much Around the Horn was influential on me. I mean, it's one of the reasons why we have the show. I wanted to do something like that, but for the D-backs. And so Around the Horn was huge for me. I'm so upset that it's gone. I think it's a symptom of, what sports media is today. But yeah, Around the Horn was great. And so that's what I normally be watching. Also, shout out to Stump the Schwab. That was an incredible sports show. Oh my gosh, Brett, if you haven't seen that, you would love it.
Oh my God, Brett.
I might have been a little bit too young for that.
So Stump the Schwab, there was one of the researchers, the ESPN researchers. I believe, yeah, he was there for a long time, and then eventually they gave him a show with they had a host. Oh, I can't remember who it was, but it was one of the icons. And so what they would do is it was a game show where you had just regular people come in, and they would try and test their sports trivia, and it was all the sports. You had to really, really know your stuff. And you had to try and beat this guy named the Schwab. And it was so amazing how much he knew about like every single sport and just the most weird stats and stories and all these different names. It was incredible. So if you need something to entertain yourself, seriously, go back and watch those. I think a lot of them are on YouTube, but it's kind of been buried deep. It's one of the greatest shows of all time. So anyway, so there's that. That's if I had cable, but at my mom's, we had public TV, and I'll tell you, public TV, that builds character for sure. And so I miss it. So what I would watch at my mom's would either be the channel of My 45 or it would be CW on 61. So shout out to anyone else that was in Arizona watching public TV. But I would be looking forward to Reba. I'd be watching Reba.
My grandma watched that a bunch. I watched that a few times with her.
Yeah, I love that show. I love that woman. She is a fantastic person. So, and public TV, basically, it's if you don't have cable, if you don't have streaming, you just had gosh, this is going to date me so much. You had your TV and you had the rabbit ears. And if you had the rabbit ears plugged into your TV, you could get a certain amount of channels that were they were public channels. So things like Jerry Springer, that was on public TV too. So that's
especially like how nowadays they have like Roku TV has free channels and shit like that. Like just already.
Or yeah, local TV, I guess you could call it too. I think back then it was called public TV. But there's that, and then I would always stay up until 10 o'clock at night. I remember at 10 o'clock The Simpsons came on. And I'm obsessed with The Simpsons. That's one of my obsessions. I'm obsessed with The Simpsons. I love it so much.
Me and my brother tried to do whatever we could to stay up late and watch.
Parents would not let me watch that one.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to watch Simpsons. They were okay with me watching. The one show they wouldn't let me watch was South Park, until I was like 13 or 14, and I mean for very good reasons. Honestly, looking back on it, especially those early years of South Park, my God, that shit was crazy. Definitely glad they did it. I'm gonna do the same for Slade. I'll be like, hey, you know what? You can watch Avatar and Teen Titans, and maybe once you're like, in your teens, you can watch some South Park, but it'll be a little bit. But that's a blast. I'm gonna definitely have to check out Stump the Schwab, honestly, and then I might have to go and rewatch some old, because the nice thing about YouTube, which we have a question on YouTube we'll get to later, but nice to know that YouTube has some other stuff, because I'm gonna have to go and watch some old PTI, because Part of the Interruption is such a goated show, and Around the Horn is honestly super good too. But sticking with you, Josh, like I said, we're gonna do a little snake. It is now your turn. What niche subject are you extremely passionate about?
Let's see. So there are two different things. One thing I'll bring it up because it just popped up in a show I was watching. So one thing that I will go on a tangent on and talk you like till you're blue is about the it's a real dark subject, but it's about the Indian schools. You know how they have the street in Arizona called Indian School? That's because there was an actual it was called an Indian school where they would take the children of Native American tribes. This was back in like the 1800s, Wild West era. They would take the children and then they would like basically it was like a re-education camp where they would strip them of their identity, anything that had to do with their with their culture, their identity, and they would basically make them into a quote unquote civilized being, a civilized person. And so, cutting their hair, making them not speak their language, teaching them English, all this different stuff. But there was a whole lot of cruelty with it, and abuse and torture and just straight up murder. So there's a lot of, unfortunately, there's a lot of bodies that are buried quite literally underneath us because of these schools. And it's not really talked about a lot. And so, so I talk about it, whenever it becomes relative or relevant at all, or even close. And so I was watching a show called 1923. It's like a prequel to Yellowstone, and they have a whole story, like a subplot about it. And I was just like, validated because someone actually is acknowledging it. So I thought that was really cool. So that, and then mantis shrimps. I love mantis shrimps. So those are so cool. Look them up.
Shrimps
This just got like super dark and super serious.
It's good to know. I'm gonna have to look into that
Yeah.
more. I'm gonna have to look into that more but no, there's no way any part of the state or country would ever be behind or built on something like that, Josh. No, that would never be the case.
Oh, they're also currently trying to mine uranium up near the Grand Canyon and poisoning the water supply of the Native American tribes up there. So look that up too. Yeah. So those are my passions.
Oh yeah, honestly, we'll have to shoot me some links on that, because I'm always down to educate myself a little bit more. Whether it's a fun topic or not, it is always good to be informed. So I'll look into that. But shrimps is bugs, even though they're delicious. Shrimps is just water bugs. That's just me and Kayla. We always bring that up every time we hear the word shrimps. But Brandon, same thing to you. What is something that what is a super niche subject that you are obsessed with or are really passionate about?
So that's really difficult because most of the things that I like talking about, like people already know. Like you guys know I love talking sports. You guys know I love talking baseball. You guys know I love talking MLB The Show. Like I like video. Like I love The Last of Us. Like season 2 comes out in like 3 weeks. I am beyond excited for that because season 1.
I can have a hot take on that one in a second.
Oh,
continue.
okay.
Let you continue.
I am not sure if I'm not sure how I feel about this, but no, like I literally could talk. I literally could talk baseball all day. Like I don't care if it's about a team that I don't follow. I may have a bad take, but if I believe in it, goddamn, I am going to stick with it. So, all right, Brett, time for you to ruin my life.
No, so again, the Last of Us TV show is great. Season 1, absolutely fantastic. Great adaptation. Some of the things they changed, maybe not like especially off the rip. I don't like that they took out the spores, but still, I like the way they explained it. All that.
Actually,
again, with the mask, like I get why you can't have your actors in a mask the entire time. I totally understand the justification.
Spores are going to be in season 2.
That's the thing is like you're retconning it now. Like it's why was
Are
it in
they
season 1?
retconning it though?
there was a pretty big, like, that was a big part of like Ellie's immunity. Like either way, as long as they bring it back in, I'm okay with it. My hot take again, especially I'll preface it this: Last of Us season 2 is going to be on Last of Us Part 2. Last of Us Part 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. It is one of the most hated games because of the story, which no spoilers. If you guys haven't seen it or anything, I'm not going to spoil it now. Don't know how you've gone this long without being spoiled. It's one of my favorite games of all time where the internet shits on it for so many goddamn reasons. Even my brother to this day always complains. He's like, well, they did this with it. And again, not going to spoil it, but he is like, why would I go play a game that's a depression simulator? Which, don't get me wrong, it's very dark, but just as a game, just the gameplay, the enemy UI or the enemy, like CPU brain, like how it works, like the abilities where they can actually like know where you are, they can communicate with each other. I actually really did enjoy the story. Like maybe some of the things were a little bit ham-fisted, little things like beating over my head where it's like, yes, revenge bad, I know that, but it's still a good story. My hot take is I think they should have recasted Ellie for season 2. That's my only thing is I would have liked.
It's not a hot take because there's a lot of people that feel that way.
But that's the thing is like I know a lot of people would have,
because they're like,
preferred...
she doesn't look like her.
No, she doesn't. And like she was a great young Ellie. And like that's why like I think that they killed the casting. I really like Pedro as Joel. Like he is a really good spin on Joel. And Joel is one of my like I literally have this Funko signed by Joel with him. He inscribed it. No matter what, you keep finding something to fight for. Like genuinely,
You're talking the voice actor, or
Troy Baker.
Okay.
I got Troy Baker.
Oh, Troy Baker.
Yeah, like so that's why I'm like Troy Baker is one of the GOAT video game voices. We're going on a little tangent here. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but we got the time. We're fine. One of my favorite and one of the GOAT voice actors ever. But that's where and like I'm very happy with Pedro. I just wish they would have changed the actress for Ellie. Again, she did a great job as young Ellie, but I would have been like, there's a very clear like difference in look from the first game Ellie to the second game. She looks like a very just different person. Where even in the first game, there's a lot of jokes where they basically made her look like Ellen Page, or I guess Elliot Page now. And like even that where I'm like, I again, I would have preferred a different actor. I still think that I'm forgetting her name now. Bella Ramsey. I think Bella Ramsey's still going to do a good job, and she can definitely prove me wrong. And I'm still going to enjoy the new season a lot. But again, that's just my hot take. Again,
not a hot take because a lot of people feel the exact same way. I do not, because she's a phenomenal actress, and it's. I think like you gotta decide. Do you go find someone that looks like the one from the game but can't act their way out of a paper bag, or do you take the liberty of maybe she doesn't look exactly like her, but she is able to portray the character that we all know and love from the video game? And I will always go, it is easier to change up someone's looks than teach them how to act. There's a reason it's a skilled trade for a lot of people. So
I mean, just look at the Avatar: Last Airbender movie. Like the dude looked like Aang, but oh my fucking god, it's not really it's his fault. He was a kid, but the script was absolutely god awful. But that is a
so bad, so bad.
Yeah, say Dank, welcome in. Say we are doing a little bit of get to know the Dispatch boys. Also trying to get to know you guys as we're saving a lot of the big main D-backs talk for our final spring training episode next week, when all the roster decisions are basically finalized. So maybe not the full centralized D-backs talk, but still probably some of the stuff relating to D-backs, as I guess, I don't know if it'd be a niche topic because I know, or niche, whatever, tomato, potato. The only ones I can really think of is one, maybe MLB The Show. Like for years, I didn't know that many people, like before I found like the YouTubers and all that, like not many people in my real life even fucking played MLB The Show. Like, no, like, and I would be like talking about Road to the Show. And like, even when I finally got into Diamond Dynasty and like building I was really into Rick and Morty, and my first uniforms that I custom made were Rick and Morty custom uniforms. So Diamond Dynasty would probably be one of my really niche, weird ones. Where it's like, it's definitely grown a lot. So it's not as like niche. But like, I'm kind of in the same one as Brandon. Like so I'm even looking around my room covered in a bunch of shit. I guess maybe one where the community is still really solid, but like hardcore music. Like it's maybe not, especially now that I'm, like I guess like you could say fully straight edge, listening to a lot more straight edge bands and all that now, which again, just non-alcoholic. So that's why I'm like not, I don't know if you would fully classify it as, but this is alcohol free. But listening to some of the straight edge bands can, kind of feel their lyrics a little bit more, and I don't feel like a poser as much. But again, maybe like hardcore music, because there's some times where people still give me weird looks. Like, dude, seeing Knocked Loose on Jimmy Kimmel a few months ago was
That was
fucking
awesome.
insane. Like the
I
fact that they
love
got
that.
nominated for a Grammy. Like I got to see pig squeals on national TV, like cinema, absolute cinema. But those would probably be mine. But again, like not really necessarily niche, but that's what I'm gonna go with. The moving on to our next question, which we'll kind of timer ourselves here so we can kind of get through these, and not keep you guys for super long here. But again, appreciate each one of you guys for sticking through. Again, whether you're joining us on our lunch break, like our man Dank Lemon is here, or if you're sticking with us in the YouTube chat and whatnot, appreciate you guys tuning in, sticking with the tech difficulties while we go on a little bit of off-topic discussions here. The next one we had here: what was the time you got into the most trouble with your parents? And mine will be my poor decisions senior year, where I was a little bit of a pothead. That was a fun one, um, and definitely did not time it well. Didn't get to finish out my senior year and all that fun stuff. At least at my high school, still got my diploma that says I'm a graduate of that high school. But that was probably my biggest time I got in trouble. But thankfully, very loving parents, where they were more of disappointed in me and not like super mad, but able to work it off. I put in like 40 hours a week at Chipotle and really paid off all my fines and everything super fast. Uh, Learned my lesson. So, that's probably what I'd go with. But again, thank God that was many years ago and many moons ago. And they were, very, very forgiving and still, supported me through all that. So shout out my parents, mom and dad. Love you guys, MVPs. But Brandon, same thing to you. What is the most trouble that you've ever gotten in with your parents?
My very first speeding ticket when I was 18 years old. And I also ran a red light because I was on my phone. So yeah, when I had to come home, because at that point my parents were paying for, so I was on their auto insurance. So once I got that ticket, rate skyrocketed. So yeah, I still kind of do it to this day. I have a major issue, like when I get like super anxious and I have really bad anxiety, I need to have something in my hand, whether that's my phone or a pen or a pencil or a plate. Like something needs to physically be in my hand.
Need a fidget
Also,
spinner.
yeah,
We'll have
I
to,
used to
have to put you in a
have.
manual car or something.
I still
Yeah.
have a fidget spinner. It's funny.
So yeah, that one, yeah, that was the first time I'd ever seen my mom yell at me. Like my dad would yell at me all the time. I was used to it, but the look of disappointment in her face.
Yeah, being told that your parents are disappointed in you probably hurts more than like any other feeling, because it's not fun at all. But that's a tough one. I feel like we've all been there though. I've had a few speeding tickets, especially. But again, parents were super chill, at least with that. Definitely not as much as what happened senior year, but understandable. Speeding ticket versus real trouble with the law. Never a fun time. But Josh, same question to you. I can't even imagine like what you have cooked up for us. I know me and Brandon set the table really well for you
Yeah,
to try
no,
to
mine's pretty tame compared to that. But yeah, I mean, Arizona drivers, if you're an Arizona driver, you've been speeding. That's just what it is. So, but mine is a lot more tame than that. I think my punishment is more evil than what you guys went through. But so basically, it was when I was in sixth grade. I was in orchestra, and I was rented a violin from Milano's, just a local place nearby. Um, and I joined orchestra because I wanted to learn how to fiddle. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Turns out they don't teach you how to fiddle as a sixth grader in elementary school orchestra. So I lost interest pretty quickly. I didn't want to do it anymore, but band was there offering me to play percussion because I was really, really good at piano, and then just drums in general. And so instead of telling my parents that, hey, I'm actually going to band now, I just didn't say anything for like the entire year and tried to avoid orchestra. Well, uh, I I guess I didn't realize that the school could communicate with my parents because they found out and they had been paying a lot of money to rent that violin. And so I got into huge trouble. The punishment was the worst part. They made me read a book called The Book of Virtues. There's an actual book of virtues, and it is a giant book. It's like this thick. I kid you not. And not only that, they made me do a book report on it. So I had to do a book report on the Book of Virtues, and it took me, I think, 2 or 3 months to get it done, and I was miserable. I could not do anything else besides get that done. Couldn't go out. I couldn't go play games, nothing. I had to get that done before I could do anything, and it was brutal. So,
Yeah, definitely
yeah.
been there, at least in some kind of aspect, but definitely, you know, I guess it was probably a good thing me and Brandon went first. Majors look a lot more like a slap on the
Yeah.
wrist. Not as crazy. It went from like pretty bad to like, yeah, like maybe don't do that to like, okay, like kids are gonna be
Yeah.
kids. Yeah, like
Yeah.
no. But
Right.
that's a good one. We got two more here, and then we'll let everyone guys go. It's getting a little late here, but don't you worry, we still got
Mhm.
two more questions here. We'll get through. Josh, we'll start with you again on this one. If you could live in a different era of history for a small period of time, which I guess we should clarify how big of a period, like a few days, a few months, like maybe like especially considering the period, a few years, would that be a small period?
I was thinking like a month to
Okay, so
kind
if
of
you could live in
experience it.
a different era of history for a month, where would you go? And I guess why as
S-
well.
Yeah, well, I have been in my cowboy era, my Wild West era. I've been watching nothing but westerns. If you're on Discord, you'll know a little bit about that. Been playing Red Dead Redemption 2, like all the time.
Gonna
So
be
I
all
am
right, boy.
definitely all right, boy. Yeah, so yeah, I've been in my Wild West era. I would love to at least live a little bit of that and see what it'd be like to be a cowboy for real. I know it's not like what the movies show, obviously, but I would love to
What? It's
experience that for just a
not.
little bit. Yeah. Yeah, maybe not a little bit, but I could try to be a gunslinger, get shot, get my arm cut off, all that good stuff.
That's honestly a pretty good pick. Say the Wild West would always be interesting. I personally wouldn't pick it just because of you get a cut and you're fucked. You could be
Yeah.
fucked. Plus I have asthma, so like I would probably die from that back in the day. But Brandon, same question to you. If you could live in any era of history for 1 month, where would you choose and why?
So, and it's weird that I didn't think of this in initially when we talked about niche topics. I love, and it's weird to say, I love World War II era. Like any sort of documentary, any books, any theatrical movies that are based around World War II, I love. Like one of my favorite movies ever is Saving Private Ryan. So for me, it is definitely World War II era. Now it's not a very safe time to be in the world, but like I don't know what it is about that era. Like everything like I hear and like read and watch about, like it's so it just it has my interest so deeply. So yeah, maybe just like World War II, maybe like right at the very beginning or right at the end, not kind of in the middle, like not around December 7th of 1941. Probably not want to, especially not be in Hawaii during that time. Would probably be a smart idea.
Yes,
Follow-up question on that. Would you rather be in the Pacific campaign or the European?
Pacific.
That's crazy. I would not choose the Pacific.
yeah. So this
Yeah.
one, I kind of like the pick, especially for like obviously the history wasn't or the world wasn't the safest at then, but there's a lot going on, a lot of technological advancements, so that would have been fun to see. Especially the nice thing knowing like if I'm assuming for this hypothetical question, you're only there for a month and you're kind of like a fly on the wall, getting to be like a bystander seeing all these things happen. For me, there'd be, I guess there's like two that I kind of like first came to mind. One that's more of like a joke. Give me late October, November of 2001. Let me actually fucking see my team physically win the World Series.
Mhm.
I was too young for that, so maybe actually physically see
Kept it topical.
I got
yeah,
to see it.
exactly. See, winding all back to the D-backs, baby. That's what we do here.
Yeah.
But yeah, bring it back to maybe like getting to see the actual D-backs World Series. But like maybe my actual pick would be kind of like back in like again maybe like prime era Vikings time. Just get to see how the Vikings live for like a month, because that's a lot of like I'm very, as you can probably tell, a lot of like Swedish, Norwegian, kind of like heritage in my family and all that. So that would have been kind of fun to see exactly how they all live like that and whatnot. Uh, but again, it's one of those where I like my modern amenities too much. Especially I would have to make sure I refill my asthma medication the month before I go and travel back in time for that era, because I literally cannot sleep well if I don't have my, two puffs of my special inhaler before bed and after I wake up, because my lungs are not the best, but much better now that I'm actually like in shape a little bit and I can actually like run without being out of breath, which is nice. But yeah, I would probably pick that like Viking time, or again just maybe some actually being able to physically see the fucking walk off and Gonzo make Mariano Rivera his son. But again, I unfortunately, at least I guess fortunately, I do have the DVD to go watch that, which something funny is every time I work one on the live stream, whenever I get a Luis Gonzalez signed item or a Mariano Rivera item, I bring it up every single time where I'm like, "Oh yeah, the greatest man to do it. More people have walked on the moon." I was like, except for that one time. What happened in that one World Series? What was it? What was it when he became the son of that really good, left-handed hitter for the Diamondbacks that almost won the World? Oh, that's right. So I was getting my jokes in then whenever I can. But going on into our last question here, this one was my favorite in the thing, because I have three that came to mind immediately. This one is, what is your favorite YouTube channel to watch? So I know one of them. I guess it's like kind of two, but I kind of like lump them together just because a lot of people are on there. We had this person on a little while ago for a guest appearance, but it'd be the Warehouse Games / like Talking Baseball / We Got Ice. All the content they produce over there, especially Jack and Zoe. Like if you guys don't watch We Got Ice, very just genuinely great content. Like they do a lot of like, oh, we do an at bat with like different size baseballs. Just the other day, he did a video where he tried to break Bartolo Colon's consecutive strike record, throwing like at their little zone. Like it's very very entertaining content. Highly recommend it. My second pick would be probably like Foolish Baseball is definitely a good one, but I feel like in the last year or so, doesn't mean his content's not still absolute S tier. But I'm going to go with Baseball Doesn't Exist. Baseball Doesn't Exist is a fantastic channel. If you guys don't know Baseball Doesn't Exist, go check it out. They are great. And then my third one, it's one of those where whenever they do drop, it's an absolute fucking banger. Summoning Salt, and I guess maybe that would kind of go back into my niche topic. Summoning Salt does a lot of like history of video game speed runs, history of like I think he recently just actually became the world record holder in Mike Tyson's Punch Out, which is fucking insane. Like that was his first video I believe he made years ago, and it got super popular. So the fact that he's now the world record holder for that is crazy to me. So I would probably use those again, kind of put 5 in there, but the 3 lumped into one of the Warehouse Games, Talking Baseball, We Got Ice. Baseball Doesn't Exist. That's a good one. And then obviously Summoning Salt, which again, Josh, looked like you were probably looking it up on the side there. Highly
Was.
recommend it. Those are
Yeah.
some long videos. Brandon, you might like it too. Everybody in the chat. Summoning Salt has got some absolute heaters. Great stuff, especially the way they break down the history of video games, like the game they're talking about, like the speed run methods and whatnot. Like it's wild. Like there's some shit where I'm like, man, I like watching this because I know I would get way too pissed trying to break a record and would give up after like 3 hours and all the attempts they go through. But highly recommend it. But Brandon, same thing to you. What is your favorite YouTube channel that you enjoy to watch? Whether maybe you're eating some dinner and you like to throw something on YouTube, or if you're getting ready and you like to have something in the background, or just if you're looking for some content to watch in general, what do you usually go to?
Not counting our channel, because obviously our channel is number one. Um, outside of sports, I am a huge like just comic book nerd. Like I love comic books. I love superheroes. I love like pop culture stuff, so like Star Wars and Star Trek and stuff like that. So one channel that anytime there's a new trailer out or there's a new TV show like the new Daredevil, new rock stars. They do
Hmm.
a fantastic job of breaking everything down. Like they it is very like nerdy stuff, and it's really
Ooh, I've
really
seen their
great.
stuff before, actually, now that you say
Yes,
that.
yes, they have like any like pop culture show you can. So any of the superhero or comic book stuff or Star Wars stuff on Disney Plus, they'll go ahead and literally like that day or the next day they'll have a breakdown of the episode of like all like Easter egg or comic book stuff. So it's always great. Um, and I can always like if like I think I know what this means, and then I watch. I was like, "Yep, thanks for confirming that." Or I didn't know about that. So yeah, like I've seen the the movies in the MCU so many times. Like I would always go back and just do rewatch of the entire thing. I haven't done it in a while because there's like almost 30 movies now, and that's gonna take a hot minute.
It's going to be
Now
a whole weekend.
no, it's take more like a whole
Yeah,
week.
probably a whole month almost at this point.
So, but no, like I just like the the reason I love comic book movies and superhero movies. It's a movie I can watch and turn off my brain. Just something to go in and enjoy and not have to worry about anything. Some people like going to see movies to make them think. I sometimes like that. For the most part, I don't. So, definitely, if you're into superhero or comic book or pop culture stuff, definitely go ahead and check out New Rockstars.
I'll have to add them to my list and look at it because I've definitely seen a few of their videos kind of pop in my YouTube recommendation before. Definitely enjoyed what they've done. So
It's
definitely
a
have to look
big
into.
channel, so yeah, it probably does.
Say, Josh, what about you, sir? What's your favorite YouTube channel to watch currently, or just in
Okay.
general of all time?
So, well, I'll date myself again. So I remember when YouTube first came out, there was, I don't know if you guys remember this at all or anything, but I used to watch Equals Three
Oh,
with Ray William
dude!
Johnson.
Oh
You
my
guys remember
God!
him?
Yes.
Yeah. I used to watch him. Oh my gosh, every episode that came out. So if you don't know, Ray William Johnson was basically like America's Funniest Home Videos, but YouTube for viral
The
videos.
lead
I
singer of
don't
Your Favorite
recommend going
Martian.
back to watch it. It was a different time, people. It was a different era.
Not aged.
So
Not aged very well.
yeah, it has not aged very well at all. But oh my gosh, back in the day, it was so fun. That was where you went to see all the funny viral videos. So I loved Equals Three, and then Scene Anners, Hutch, Machinima, all that back in the heyday. Loved watching them. That was Modern Warfare 2 commentary videos before, that kind of stuff became popular. I remember watching him try out this new game called Minecraft that had just come out. So pretty old.
Yeah.
So those were that's what I grew up watching, and then video game Donkey. Shout out him during his League of Legends videos and just his
I was
videos now.
a
Yeah, I loved his videos. Well, I still watch him to this day. I mean, he still makes hilarious content. So, but I think the number one where it's, if I see it, I'm clicking on it no matter what I'm doing or, no matter what time it is or anything. It's Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan. So he is, if you guys remember All Gas No Breaks, that was really popular, but he switched over to independent reporting, and he is legitimate. I think he is, from what I've seen, the greatest independent reporter out there. Going to all these really really big events, he's got people worldwide, just going to places, and it's extremely objective, just figuring out what's going on. I think they were at the January 6th thing. They were at the whole what was it? The Colorado thing, the Aurora thing. They went there
Oh, the
and
shooting. Yeah.
asked people about like the gangs, and they went into the Vegas tunnels, and they do everything very respectfully. It's not like clickbait content, like, oh, I went into the Vegas tunnels and you won't believe what we saw. Kind of taking advantage of like the homeless or anything like that. But he crossed the border of Mexico and got arrested, and went through the whole experience of getting going through that. Like there's a lot of incredible stuff that he puts out there, and it's all extremely well done. So that's where I get my world event news, is watching him, because I know it's going to be just like, this is what's happening. This is what happened. So it's really great to have that, and you don't really have that nowadays. He's gotten so big. He's got a thing on January 6th on HBO, and he just came out with a new movie as well that he has on his on a website. It's incredible stuff. If you want to watch something unique, definitely go check out Channel 5. It's my favorite.
Oh yeah. Say honestly, that's my thing. Just because
Yeah.
I probably, maybe like I don't want to like not trying to like brag about it, because maybe not the best brag, but I watch way too much fucking YouTube. To where even as I pull up my YouTube premium, I literally just got reminded 4 channels that are absolute fucking bangers. One of them, Ordinary Sausage, is another one that I watch a fuck ton of. Ordinary Sausage will make like literally the first one that's on my YouTube page right now as I'm speaking is cabbage steak, which is a steak boiled in cabbage mush. He'll make like so many things into sausage, like, and the videos are so quick. There's like no ads.
That's funny.
Like, highly recommend it. It's just a great laugh. I like. The wife does not like it because he sounds like Peter Griffin almost. And whenever he makes something into sausage, like literally, like I'm not even kidding you, like literally, and he'll have like a saying, like if he's making something into sausage, right before he does it, he'll actually be like 3, 2, 1, let's sausage. And when I'm playing it, Kayla's like, you're not allowed to play that around me. Fucking turn that off. So Ordinary Sausage is great. For you Avatar fans out there, Overanalyzing Avatar is also really good. Highly recommend watching him. He will literally go through, like, if you've already seen Avatar and you know it a lot, trust me, go watch his Overanalyzing Avatar series, because he breaks it down episode by episode and literally overanalyzes it, like the moon cycle, where it's like, hey, it was a full moon last episode, and this is only 2 days later. What the fuck you doing up there, UA? Get your shit together. So if you guys, watch Avatar, that one's good. Because we talked about camping earlier, this one's an absolute banger. Outdoor Boys, they've really blown up.
I think I've heard of them.
His is a good ass channel. He does a lot of like, the one from 10 days ago, which their channel's insane. 10 million views in 10 days is fucking bonkers. But forging a knife and survival camping alone in the wilderness. So a lot of like, it's almost like a Survivor Man Les Stroud kind of thing, where he's recording it all himself. But he's just super knowledgeable, and he's just super wholesome. It's great content, like genuinely like very family friendly content. You can always enjoy it. And then an absolute OG YouTuber that I see some of his videos that I enjoy is the LA Beast. The LA Beast, the guy that you've probably seen a video of him putting, like, he's eaten a cactus before. He's dipped his whole hand in like liquid nitrogen. One of his other ones, he drank like Survivor water from like World War II. Like,
what?
Again, I watch way too much YouTube. So if you guys are ever looking for some YouTube to watch, hop on the Discord, which it is in the description here, because again, I will give you all kinds of YouTube recommendations, whatever kind of niche subject you guys are looking for, anything like that. Again, let me know, because I could talk about all these kind of things all night. But again, appreciate each and every one of you guys for tuning in. I know this wasn't the typical Dbacks Dispatch episode. We did kind of, go a little bit off topic with the Dbacks, but again, it was a little bit of you guys getting to know us, you guys, getting to hear us kind of like nerd out on shit that we really like, as well as, again, if there's responses from you guys, we want to get to know you guys as well, like Red Sox Dank, and even our resident troll Cruz got to learn a little bit more about him. So appreciate you guys in the chat. So if you guys are looking to give us some of your answers, and I'm always curious to hear from you guys on, experiences, YouTube shows like that, let us know in the Discord, let us know in the YouTube comments, all that. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky. Make sure, again, you join the Discord. Make sure you guys go over to azsnakepit.com, because there's great written content over there every single day. And we are going to be getting back into the rhythm of written content. Josh and I, usually it's kind of like a mixture of both of us. Well, every now and then you can definitely tell the difference in the writing. You'll know who's writing it, because Josh is definitely a little bit more put together than mine. Mine's kind of like the ramblings of a schizo baseball fan, like you see right now, where I can just go on tangents. But again, check out azsnakepit.com, because we'll have some written content over there that you guys will probably enjoy as well. And then again, just join the Discord, and we'll see you guys in there. But again, we appreciate you guys. We should be back next week, or maybe this weekend, but most likely next week we will be back with the full squad again. Gabe will be back from Japan. We'll be talking all kinds of D-backs for this hour and a half. roster moves, opening day stuff, expectations, maybe some season predictions, and maybe some season hot takes and all that. So that will be all next episode. So we will see you guys in the next one of Dbacks Dispatch. Take it easy.
Under the lights, the game goes down. Desert heat, but we own this town. Brennan gave on the call with Josh in the back, bringing it on.